Good morning, friends, and welcome to Trans India Real People, Real Emotions. We are currently living in an era where disruptions are the order of the day. We are seeing disruptions in every walk of life. Automobiles is one segment that has been seeing a lot of disruptions, especially with the government taking a hard stand on emissions. We have been hearing the Transport Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, at various forums talking about the need to switch to alternate fuels, including electric vehicles. However, electric vehicles have their share of challenges, right from batteries to charging facilities. But still, electric vehicles are fast catching up, especially in the smaller vehicle categories. However, disruptions are knocking on the doors of the medium and heavy commercial vehicle segment as well. And one company that is taking huge strides in this segment is Tresa Motors. Trans India was in Bangalore recently at the headquarters of Tresa Motors to interact with the founders of Tresa Motors, Rohan Shravan and Ravi Machani. Rohan Shravan is the founding CEO, CTO of Tresa Motors, India's first OEM manufacturer of medium and heavy electric trucks. A 2008 mechanical engineer from IIT Kharagpur, Rohan has a decade-plus experience in industrial design, manufacturing and artificial intelligence. A disciplined learner himself, Rohan has taught more than 6,000 students in advanced AI at the school that he runs called the School of AI. His multidisciplinary experience allows him to fuse different sciences and technologies to make unique products that are built from the ground up based on first principles. Rohan aspires to see India becoming the nation of every country's dreams and become a power that strives for innovation, human growth, and global prosperity. Ravi Machani, a trailblazing entrepreneur and visionary technocrat, is at the forefront of innovation and progress in the modern business landscape. With a passion deeply rooted in engineering, technology, and design, Ravi's journey as a third-generation family business owner is remarkable. Drawing from his family's rich 19-year-old legacy, Ravi has ventured into diverse domains from social enterprise to real estate, robotics to AI, design to engineering and beyond. Ravi's profound intuition and strategic acumen have propelled him to found the next new AI venture studio, which encompasses an impressive array of pioneering companies. Tresa Motors is driving AI-powered mobility solutions, while Machani Robotics is revolutionizing senior care in healthcare with AI and humanoid solutions. His commitment to reducing reliance on foreign technologies is evident in the ecosystem, which includes an AI-powered computer vision and 3D scanning technology firm, a cutting-edge gaming company. A former president of the Entrepreneurs Organization and a member of the prestigious global networks like the Young Presidents Organization and Chief Executives Organization, Ravi Machani is building a legacy of innovation, excellence, and transformative change in the world of technology and business. His visionary leadership promises a future where indigenous innovation shines brightly on the global stage. He envisions India solidifying its stature as a pioneering leader, believing the nation's strength will emanate from AI solutions crafted within its borders for global impact. So coming up after this very short break, our interaction with Rohan and Ravi. You are watching Trans India, Real People, Real Emotions.
क्या आप जानते हैं एक ट्रक ओनर के लिए सबसे मुश्किल काम क्या होता है? अपने ट्रक के लिए रिटर्न लोड खोजना।
पर अब ट्रैकिट ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट ने इसे आसान कर दिया है।
वो कैसे?
ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट टाइम पर ट्रैकिट ऐप में आए हुए लोड पर अपना बेस्ट रेट भेजें, माल की डिलीवरी की डेट और टाइम सिलेक्ट करें और सबमिट कर दें, और ऑर्डर कंफर्म होने पर व्हीकल असाइन करें। है ना आसान? तो देर किस बात की? प्ले स्टोर ऐप पर टाइप करें TRAKET ट्रैकिट और डाउनलोड करें ट्रैकिट ऐप।
बच्चों का दूसरा घर होता है और इस घर का ख्याल रखना एक प्रिंसिपल के लिए आसान नहीं। पढ़ाई के साथ बच्चों का आराम, उनकी सेफ्टी, छोटी से छोटी चीज़ मेरी प्रायोरिटी है। वैसे ही स्कूल बस चुनना भी एक बहुत बड़ा डिसीजन था। पेरेंट्स का पीस ऑफ माइंड, मैनेजमेंट का भरोसा और बजट साथ लिए चलना पड़ता है। इसीलिए कभी कभी फर्म भी बनना पड़ता है। आखिर कोई अपने बच्चों की जिम्मेदारी मुझे दे रहा है तो कोई बजट की। लेकिन इतने सालों में एक चीज समझ आई है, अगर सही डिसीजन लें तो सबसे ज्यादा प्यार भी प्रिंसिपल को ही मिलता है।
चुनिए महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बसेस। यह है मजबूत ट्यूबुलर स्ट्रक्चर, एंटी लॉक ब्रेकिंग, एंटी रोल बार, पैराबोलिक सस्पेंशन, IMAX, वाइडर सीट्स और बेस्ट इन क्लास माइलेज के साथ बच्चों के लिए सेफ और बाकी सब के लिए सबसे स्मार्ट चॉइस, महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बस।
Welcome back to Trans India. Real people, real emotions. We are in conversation with the founders of Tresa Motors, Rohan Shravan and Ravi Machani at the company's headquarters in Bangalore. It's a delight being at Tresa Motors. First of all, how did this idea come in, Tresa Motors?
So, goes back till 2014. And in fact, before that, 2009, I started the first company and did something in the computers and realized that suddenly there are global companies saying that IP is ours and you can't manufacture products further. So that was the first hit. When you make a product, you have to own the IP, the most important thing, stuff. And since childhood, I've been dreaming of owning an automobile company and making cars. But this is before internet. I used to have a big slam book of every single possible car.
Wow.
I was in love with the Alfa Romeo, especially the V-box design. Then 2014 is when I actually got the opportunity. Started working on axial flux motors and wanted to make sure that we have that IP as the central of whatever we're doing. It took 6 years to get the motor right, very complex. Especially in our case, the motor switches from 800 positive to 800 negative 4,000 times every second. Wow. And we're talking about 350 amps. So that's a lot of current. So a lot of burns and bruises on the electronics and money as well.
I'm sure.
21 is finally when my interaction with Ravi grew and he invested. So he's a founder partner and investor as well at the same time, and gave the confidence that yes, this can be done.
Okay.
Now, before we started on the electric side, we were also contemplating what to do. There are two things. I don't think everybody realized that global warming is happening because changes every day so little that we don't care about it that much. But if we really do care about it, then we need to know the fact that 3% trucks cause 60% pollution. So it doesn't mean we fix the rest of the 97%. We have to work on this first. Right. And then we had our ecosystem with Mr. Dasri and others as well. And Ravi also belongs from a family which used to own the largest transportation company in the country before it got nationalized. So everything just fit well that this is something we have to do.
Okay, wonderful. So when you got Tresa Motors together, what was the plan? What was the vision like?
The vision was that we want to make something which is global from India. Because look at the fact, we are 1/5 of the population. I'm using the language with you which is not ours. Sitting on chairs not designed in the country, using cameras and phones not designed here. So it's sort of you can say shameful if you think personally that we have not contributed yet enough to the world. And that's where it has to start. That's where we felt that you need to make something which is extremely unique and actually conquer the world with the engineering. You have to test your product millions of times before it goes in the hands of consumers. We have dreams of doing something for consumers also. But then we realized that my daughter might be in my car. The car has to be the safest in the world. That's what I tell my engineers also. So at least in truck there's one person. So it's slightly less collateral damage, but still very, very dangerous. We have to make sure that we really attain the kind of precision and perfection we're looking for before we enter anything close to consumers.
You should ask him why we call it Tresa.
I was coming to that, but before that, Ravi, what got you to invest in this?
So, before I think invest, we have to share a little bit of our personal journey. Our kind of paths met, 2018? Somewhere around 18. And we spent a lot of time together. And we realized in our DNA, I think in our bones, we have very similar value systems, very similar dreams, very similar aspirations too. I think in some ways, our deepest values match so much that they said, being next to him, I started getting a lot more confident. And don't let this man's humility fool you. He is easily the smartest human being I've ever worked with. And I work with some very smart people in the world. I used to be part of this global competency center we used to call at Delphi Automotive, and I work with some very, very smart people. Yeah. And I must say, every time I spend more time with Rohan, I got more and more sure that this is one of the rarest combinations of intellect, value systems, and drive. And I don't take this lightly. I used to joke to my office that I'm the hardest working person in my group. Until someone, this is not hard working, right? The joke was, you all have the luxury to work from 9 to 5, and an internal joke was we work from 5 to 9. That's a nice little quote. But this guy actually works from 4:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m.
Wow.
Okay? I have not met another human being more hardworking and driven than him. So you ask me my why. I'm like, this level of dedication is unparalleled. And it's like this brute force of drive has to be channelized somewhere. And that's why we met. And investor is a very loose word, because I think our values mean way beyond just making money. And you ask why trucks? I don't know if you've been to some of these large logistics carriers, right? There are these load generators, load operators, and there are these vehicle manufacturers. And to be fair to them, they're all driving towards moving the goods at the lowest cost. And just like how sometimes you take so much value out of the system, it starts marginalizing somebody else, right? And I think we're trying to solve a much bigger problem here and make money. That's the intersection Tresa feels, right? The big problem we're trying to solve is, of course, 3% of the vehicles are producing.
40 to 60.
40 to 60%. It's your guess, and I'm assuming your data is better than ours. We know it's large amount of mess to our ecosystem. And then the working conditions is really unfair. Really unfair. So we spent some time on the ground. We went to a few of these super large operator places, and we feel that the cabins need to be far better too. Our mentor and guide is Vinod Dasari, who's also the chairman. He says you've got to get two things right: economics and ergonomics.
Absolutely.
Right? And boy, we're here to solve a problem and make good money.
So Rohan, coming back, why Tresa Motors? Where does this name come from?
So there's something I read in childhood. I have a deep interest in understanding Vedas, not from a religious perspective, but from historical perspective. So there's a word in Vedas called Tresa Renu,
Okay.
which means 1/3 of the smallest individual particle, which means mobility, which means transportation. So you're talking about cork here. So that inspired. So the Tresa word actually comes from there. So most of the products are English sounding. For example, our axle is called DAX1, which is drive axle, but the Sanskrit pronunciation is Daksh.
Okay.
It also means the power and the energy system.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, that's very deep-rooted philosophy, I would say. So, Rohan, what are the products that you have currently ready for the testing mode?
So, not much changes from the 18 ton to 55 ton. First, we are only in the middle, medium and the heavy truck segment.
Okay.
We're not going for the lower truck segment or light commercial vehicles. So from 18 to 55, the chassis changes because it needs to be way better, and the suspension changes. But the motor that we have built up can be stacked together. I'm going to show you how it looks like. It's extremely small, and today we can drive 18 ton without any trouble.
Okay.
What we have to do for the 55 tonner is to build a thicker chassis and add a better suspension and add the second motor, which is 350 kilowatt. So
Okay.
the trucks are actually ready. It's just a function of getting some of the things right, getting the certification on the road and start the trial.
What about the batteries? I mean, when you talk about EVs, the first concern that comes up is the battery. How are you looking at it, and what is the battery life that you think is going to have?
Now, India, so battery are constrained for, and they're going to be for some time. And I think the product needs to be designed for the use case. There are companies like ports which are going to drive for 50 or 100 kilometers a day. The task is to pick a container, go to a next location, drop it off. Then there are cement manufacturers where task is to pick, grit another raw material and take it to the micro factory. The distance they travel is not more than 150 or 200 kilometers.
Right.
Then there are like Amazon and Flipkart where they have to travel 100 or maybe 600 kilometers also. And then you have a really long mile. So we wanted to design a product which is suitable for all. Now, a guy who's going to drive for 100 kilometers shouldn't need to buy a 600 kilometer truck. So you can, just like a SD card and mobile phone, add the battery after purchasing the truck.
Okay.
So our batteries are a multiple of 50 kilowatt hour. So that's one module. In our 18 ton, you can add 6 of them. That gets a max range of 600. So anything between 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 is possible. And for our 55 ton, there are 12 modules which can go in. So 50 kilometer each module. So that also can push for 600. So depending on what you are carrying and how much, you can actually add the battery.
So tell me, just to understand this right, if let's say for example, an Amazon, he wants to, on a, let's say a month he wants to move just 200 kilometers, and the following month the same truck may want to do 600 kilometers. So can he plug and play?
You can plug and play. You can adjust. So the back hatch is removable, so, and unlike other OEMs, our battery sit inside the chassis.
Okay.
That's the most safest zone for a truck. If you see other OEMs, they are actually refitting and repurposing their old trucks.
Right.
Their batteries are on the side, which is the first thing which is going to get hit. And in India, a lot of things hit trucks. So our batteries are inside the chassis. So you open the back part and just slide in one more stack, and you're good to go.
And how much does the battery weight actually impact the carrying capacity of the truck? To what extent?
Again, depends on the range. For 18 tonner, we're talking about 300 kilowatt hour, and it's around 6 kilowatt per kilogram right now. So if you do calculation, around 1.8 tons of battery, but the rest of the components are not lighter. You have a 1.5 to 2 ton diesel engine not there. You have a big transmission box which is not there. You have a huge differential drivetrain that starts from the engine to the differential that's not there. We're building something called e-axle. Again, very different from competitors. In case of others, they are removing the engine and putting a battery there, putting a motor there. In our case, the motor and the transmission sits in the differential.
Okay.
So we save a lot of weight there as well. So even for the 600 kilometer range, the truck will have even higher payload compared to a diesel truck, which is 11 ton or 11.5 ton.
And how much is the e-axle in terms of performance different from your regular axle? Is there any difference there?
See, every time you add a universal mechanical joint, you are losing somewhere around 2 to 8% depending on how old it is. And if we take the motor and push it directly next to the axle, there are no mechanicals. There are no automotive joints. The motor directly drives the gearbox, directly drives the differential. But the more we save is on the weight side. So definitely performance is around 67% better, which is a lot for a truck, electric truck. But the overall weight that we save is way better than in any other case.
We will continue our interaction with Rohan and Ravi after this very short break. You are watching Trans India, real people, real emotions.
क्या आप जानते हैं एक ट्रक ओनर के लिए सबसे मुश्किल काम क्या होता है? अपने ट्रक के लिए रिटर्न लोड खोजना।
पर अब ट्रैकेट ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट ने इसे आसान कर दिया है।
वो कैसे?
ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट टाइम पर ट्रैकेट ऐप में आए हुए लोड पर अपना बेस्ट रेट भेजें, माल की डिलीवरी की डेट और टाइम सिलेक्ट करें और सबमिट कर दें, और ऑर्डर कंफर्म होने पर व्हीकल असाइन करें। है ना आसान? तो देर किस बात की? प्ले स्टोर ऐप पर टाइप करें TRAKET ट्रैकेट और डाउनलोड करें ट्रैकेट ऐप।
स्कूल बच्चों का दूसरा घर होता है, और इस घर का ख्याल रखना एक प्रिंसिपल के लिए आसान नहीं। पढ़ाई के साथ बच्चों का आराम, उनकी सेफ्टी, छोटी से छोटी चीज़ मेरी प्रायोरिटी है। वैसे ही स्कूल बस चुनना भी एक बहुत बड़ा डिसीजन था। पेरेंट्स का पीस ऑफ माइंड, मैनेजमेंट का भरोसा और बजट साथ लिए चलना पड़ता है। इसीलिए कभी कभी फर्म भी बनना पड़ता है। आखिर कोई अपने बच्चों की जिम्मेदारी मुझे दे रहा है, तो कोई बजट की। लेकिन इतने सालों में एक चीज समझ आई है, अगर सही डिसीजन लें तो सबसे ज्यादा प्यार भी प्रिंसिपल को ही मिलता है।
चुनिए महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बसेस। यह है मजबूत ट्यूबुलर स्ट्रक्चर, एंटी लॉक ब्रेकिंग, एंटी रोल बार, पैराबोलिक सस्पेंशन, IMAX, वाइडर सीट्स और बेस्ट इन क्लास माइलेज के साथ बच्चों के लिए सेफ और बाकी सबके लिए सबसे स्मार्ट चॉइस, महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बस।
Welcome back to Trans India. Real people, real emotions. We are in conversation with the founders of Tresa Motors, Rohan Shravan and Ravi Machani at the company's headquarters in Bangalore. Are you concerned somewhere that, while EVs are growing, the infrastructure on the highways is not really ready for that? And getting a truck into that ecosystem, how does that fit in?
So they're going to be early adopters. The first adoption is going to be by people who are moving from point A to point B, and that's fixed. And that's all logistics, Amazon, Flipkart. We're talking about not in the city, but their warehouses.
Right.
Then we have mining sector, which mines the good and take it to the factory or the micro factory. And then we have port applications. Okay. So that's the first segment which is going to pick up in the first 3-4 years. Okay. That's where we're going to scale. That's the organized sector also. So it's easier to work with fleet managers. After that, as the country grows up, we're going to see different charging stations also going to come up. Some of the charging stations we will have to install to explain to people how this actually works. But we are seeing I'm imagining something similar to what I used to think as a childhood. A few of my friends will say that my mama just got a petrol station. And I thought, oh man, suddenly he's going to be rich. That same thing is going to happen on electric station also. You will see small farmers where the capacity is only 2.5 acre. Actually add a solar plant. Farmer today earns around 10,000 a month. But if you add a solar plant, suddenly he can add 20-30,000 more. So there is going to be a slew of startups which are going to take their land, put the solar panel on top, let them do whatever they want to do with their land, and actually pass on the electricity.
See, if I may add, I think here, there are going to be many personas of early adopters, right? I look at economics first, early adopters. We don't need to teach value to India. Right? We know we are value seekers, it's there in our DNA. We are frugal and we love to stretch our rupee to make it work for us. Right? So the moment economics are proven, there'll be plenty of people who will
Absolutely
adopt it. Right? So that's economics first, early adopters. Then you also have environment first, early adopters. So these are people who are having this product preference, or I would say this track, because it's environment first. Now these people may start with an early adoption thinking that, it's good for the environment, I want to do my bit. Then realize that economics are also there. Right, as Rohan will probably school us very soon, how the economics are also in place. But whatever said and done, the world always starts with a certain amount of cynicism until it's so obvious. And one of my classic examples is, whenever a new technology or a solution is in place, if the value is 3 times better than the previous solution, you don't need to market, educate, influence.
Absolutely.
So we feel that this, environment first is now a general, it's not a greenwashing revolution anymore. People genuinely care about the planet.
They are aware now.
Genuinely care about the planet. I remember those early years in 2013 when I used to hear these talks about how messed up we were, or even, the previous vice president of US, I forget the name, he did a lot of research on.
There was an entire series that he had done. Yes, I watched that.
It was so popular back in the days. My memory eludes me. But today it's real.
It's absolutely.
It's true. So it'll, soon after the early adopters stand in the front and make it work, and the value proposition is 3 times better than the previous solution, everybody will jump on the wagon. And we are a sun-rich country.
Absolutely.
If we were struggling somewhere in in the northwest of Ireland or something.
That would be scary.
I say, there's one thing we are blessed with is tons of sunlight. What we harness it.
Right. So, Rohan, getting back to the economics now, I'm sure the initial cost would be much higher than your conventional truck. But end of the day, how does the economics play out?
Now, trucking is a very, very interesting sector because no one buys a truck. And you can name any large logistics company as well. They have 6,000 crore in the bank, they'll not buy a truck. It's bought on loan.
True.
So that's a 20% deposit comparison we're talking about. Now let us say trucks are double the cost of a normal truck at 45 lakh, 90 lakh.
Right.
We're talking about here your 20% being 9 lakh, here being 18 lakh. First month cost. But after that you're paying 9 lakh fuel per month on the diesel one. Here you're paying 1 lakh. So the adjustment happens so fast that you will actually not feel it. Mm-hmm. If you're doing your runs properly, then worst case in the second year you will have the break even. And I'm talking about the operational break even, including the deposit that we have paid. After that, the electric trucks are cheaper compared to run. Mm-hmm. And here we're also assuming worst possible scenario, where the diesel trucks are giving you the mileage of 6.5, which they never do. And the electric trucks are always charged on fast charger, and electricity is 9.6p, which it's not. If you take it from solar, which is 2 rupees, then you can imagine that actually break even in 6 months.
And how much time ideally would it take for a full charge?
Very interesting question. How long does it take to fill a diesel truck? The amount of time it takes to put diesel inside a diesel truck is 15 to 20 minutes, which is the only charger probably that's going to be used. So in 15 minutes, you hit the same range as you get on a diesel truck.
Wow, that's commendable.
And our numbers are at least 70% as good as Tesla. Tesla can do way better. Tesla does 80% in 15 minutes, and their battery is also much bigger. So we're not saying we're world's best. We are still what we are doing, or anyone would do on electric trucks. It's still going to be much faster.
Amazing. Getting back from trucks, from the outside of the trucks to the inside of the truck, what is it in for the drivers? Do they need to be trained to handle these trucks, or it's a natural process?
So a couple of days kind of work on the driving front, driver experience, because suddenly you have the whole torque available to you on the first gear. In India, automatic trucks don't exist. That also changes. And third is basically on the mileage side, because if you do drive a truck like a car, then you're not going to get the range you're expected to. That's where a bit of AI system comes into play, which tells the driver you're not doing a good job.
Okay.
And there's a bit of slightly more learning with our trucks, because our trucks are AI enabled. All trucks have LiDAR and a camera installed. And normally companies use LiDARs and cameras for autonomous driving. We're not doing that. We are scanning the road and we are storing the data. So every Tresa truck knows a pothole, a speed breaker, a flyover, or a down the hill coming in. So if a pothole is about to come in, the first acceleration pedal you put will not let the truck accelerate. It will tell you that there's something wrong, and the feedback is just that it tells you that speed breaker is about to come. Most of the energy, 96% of energy, is lost in acceleration.
Yes.
So if you don't accelerate, or if you don't accelerate unnecessarily, then the truck actually can drive way longer. That's the biggest differentiator that we have compared to any other OEM. That's what I told you earlier also. Our trucks are going to be as premium and as expensive as possible. But the range and the mileage they're going to provide, no one will be able to compete unless they install the same system, which is not the focus of the OEMs. We want to design something which is center to the driver. Right now, India has a 40% attrition on truck driving. Just check the VRL balance sheet. Every year, that's the biggest problem that comes in. 18,000 rupees for 18 kilometers. You don't need to be sleep deprived to drive rashly or fall asleep. You fight with your wife for 1 hour, and you're as exhausted as lack of sleep, right? So it's emotional also. Right. So the truck we are designing is pro driver. You have a happy driver, you will have a better mileage, you will be actually able to reach faster also. That's how it look like. That's how the trucks are being made. Most of the cabins, most of the trucks sold in India are cowled. So they build cabin on top.
Yes.
Now that is getting banned next year, fortunately.
Yes.
These cabins are made of wood. And then you don't have mirrors. You have steel rods like a jail, and that's where you sit inside. There is no fan. There's only heat, hot heat coming and hitting you. All of that has to change.
Unfortunately, think about it, right? Let's call this as is. Everybody is guilty of the cheapest mile moving a good. The
Absolutely.
whole ecosystem.
Absolutely.
It's not nice to just blame one company or one ecosystem.
Everyone is doing that.
Everybody is used to, I call it cheap and crappy. Now, it comes at a cost. The price is paid by a driver sitting in the cabin on unreasonable, inhumane conditions. Some of the trucks that we've seen, people sit on wires, literally copper wires
Yes.
with some, I mean, how is this okay? Now this guy, if he hits something, he's going to be Superman instantly, right? How is it okay? Right? Because we allow it. Now, you can blame the government, you can blame the company, or you can blame this unfortunate soul who's better. This is a better choice. We have a term in our business, world, we call it BATNA, best alternative to negotiated arrangement. I mean, he actually chooses to sit on a wire stool
And drive a beast.
and drive a beast, and that seems to be his best alternative. Something's got to change.
But I think that also was a time when people wanted to become truck drivers. Today we are in a scenario where nobody wants to become a truck driver. The truck drivers' kids don't want to become a truck driver.
Why?
So do you think, Rohan, do you think seeing your truck on the road, that perception would change? Because the look of the truck is very fancy.
So let's see, the cabin is air suspended, the chair is air suspended, you have a central seating in the truck, so you have the best possible view. Most of the trucks, 20 years ago, truck accident happened front on. Now it has moved to side on. So side on also makes our truck safer. It has airbag. And of course AC is now compulsory, and of course a seat belt.
Right.
And then you have the driver assistance where a truck can drive if you're not concerned in few years. First is the economy side. We are imagining even superstars are going to buy this as their vanity van. There's nothing better than driving at that height on a highway. We have the best panoramic view, even which Audi can't deliver.
Right, absolutely.
And I'd also encourage you to think, like, do you ever wonder or worry about how much it costs to charge your phone?
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
But I'll tell you why. When it comes to transportation, everything is related to what at the end of the day you earn out of your investment. So people want to get maximum out of it. Your phone, you don't actually earn out of your phone, so nobody cares.
Solar, we have so many solar farms in this country.
Yes.
Right? I was just talking to Piyush Goyal's office this morning. We had some very interesting conversations long back. That's a different discussion altogether. But let's say we're blessed with sunlight here. We're going to have all kinds of solar farms here.
Right.
What are the choices for the solar farms to do? They have to either put it to the grid and hopefully get paid back. There are all kinds of nightmares and challenges out there. But what if you could charge trucks?
But Ravi, tell me, is it also possible, I mean, just a thought occurred to me, when you're selling to the Amazons, the Flipkarts who have their huge warehouses, the roofs can be converted to solar panels and electricity can be generated there? Is that an option?
Absolutely, and think about it, right? And this is just common sense. We're the irrational folks who dream first and do second and then find out reality later, right? It's just how it's going to be. Because when you come with the knowledge of experience and you've done this for decades, you're not going to try these experiments. I'll just put it this way. We have the ability to generate solar power at your home level, at your regional level, or at scale, right? I think gone are those days where you generate at scale and distribute. The future is all about being self-reliant in every way. And we're also seeing that it doesn't make sense to transport, food from far, transporting energy from far, transporting people from far. Why are we all this? This is all happening because there's unsustainable long term. There are going to be smaller, self-sufficient communities in the future, and this is the best way. If India was not blessed with this much amount of light, that's a different discussion.
Absolutely.
Now, wind is unpredictable. In those 2-3 months, it just blows, and then after that, it's sitting there. So, fortunately, we're a blessed, sunlight-rich country. It makes all the sense in the world to tap it. And if you make it as insignificant as charging a phone, one day, we believe charging a truck will be as insignificant as charging a phone, and nobody cares about it.
Right. Now, Rohan, coming to the maintenance of these trucks, how easy or what is the system going to be like vis-a-vis a conventional truck?
Yeah, so some of the components, most of the components are same. You still have the steering oil, you still have the brake oil, you still have the compressor. So maintenance which is required on the other end, similar maintenance required here also. But all the maintenance required to the gearbox and the engine is not there. So we are expecting, based on data as well, that somewhere around 40 to 60% is the 60% the worst case. So we are spending 2 rupee per kilometer on a diesel truck. Here it's going to be 1.2 rupee max.
Okay.
Maintenance is still going to be there because truck keep on driving. The tire has to be changed every 20 to 40,000 kilometer. That still can't change. But overall, the engine concerns are not going to be there.
I saw a Scania truck that has run for 7 years in a mining, I don't even know, mine. Oh my God.
It has gone through a lot.
Oh.
7 years in mining is huge. I can imagine.
7 years, I saw 70 years of.
I mean, that truck would have been running 24/7, except for the driver change bit of it. But Rohan, any volumes in mind? I know it's too early to be asking this question, but any targets that you have that in the first year, okay, we look to sell so much?
The dreams, the expectations, and the reality. So it's going to be a mix of all these three. So right now, in the medium to heavy sector, 300,000 trucks are sold. We are assuming, let's say, same number remains and there's no growth by 2025 when we want to launch. Initially, there's going to be 1 to 3% of the market is going to be electric. So 3,000 to 10,000 is what's going to be electric, and we want to be the majority player there.
Right.
Assuming the worst case, and the best case also for the country, where all the competitors, Tata, Mahindra, Ashok Leyland, and let's say Bharat Benz are ready with the electric trucks, we want to be majority, which is 21% for us, assuming all others are 19%. So that gives you some ballpark figure of somewhere around 600 to 1200 trucks.
And what's your production capacity planned for currently?
The production capacity is being scaled as we are expecting the market to scale. So if the market is for 1% trucks, it doesn't make sense to go for 45,000 trucks. But there are enough capacity in the existing ecosystem that more electric can be made. And if you see how the truck industry works, most of the components are actually made by someone else. The cabin is made by someone else. The chassis, then we have Axles India, Brakes India. So final assembly happens at our plant.
Right.
And that's what scales up as the production requirement scales up.
So in your case also the model remains more or less the same?
Model remains more or less the same. So as Mr. Dasri also say, if we design something, we manufacture it or make it. And if you're not making something, then we pick the best supplier for that.
So Girish, I just want to add something. I think it's important that we communicate this. If I may ask you, what's the difference between innovation and disruption? You want to take a stab at it?
So innovation is something that people really do, but disruption is something where you're upsetting the entire marketplace.
Spot on, right? Innovation is incremental, better solutions.
Right.
And let's say it's 15%, 20%, that's innovation. Right? What we're doing at Tresa is disruption. What we're doing is we are bringing about 5 different innovations in a central core of an industry and a product and disrupting the current solution. So the disruption requires us to change what's been done before.
Absolutely.
Today the economics of IC engine, and I'll call it our existing legacy logistics business, forces us to do a certain way the business, right? And the cost pressures is what pushes
Right.
the compromises in from cabin to the driving experiences to unfair working conditions necessary like that, right? And we're not here to disrespect what's been done. I say collectively, as a nation, all of us are responsible. It's no different than how we're okay with people till today cleaning the sewers manually. And I can go on talking about it. But what we're doing is disruption here. We are saying, hey, the whole economic value has changed. We have the largest democracy in the world with so much sunshine. Let's capture that and use it towards one of the most energy intrinsic and energy consuming, right? This is a monster that needs to consume energy, and transport is one of them. Let's take mining industry. 40% of mining industry's cost is in moving goods.
Absolutely.
Or just moving.
Moving, yeah.
Right? Moving is 40% of your cost. Now let's take the largest of the mining companies in the state. JSW is one of them, and I hope I don't get into trouble for quoting this, but they're one of the largest in the country. I understand there are some next level scale, let's just leave it that. They're the big daddies of mining in the state for sure, right? Now if 40% of their cost has to be disrupted, right? And they certainly have land. They certainly can put in their own solar panels. Now if they look at a 7-10 year horizon, If they invest in the disruption, then suddenly you have solar farms that are charging their own fleets, that are operated with far better trucks. Everybody wins. It's truly a well thought through, a virtuous cycle of value. That's the disruption. Suddenly everybody's better off. Better trucks, better driving conditions, better economics, better everything.
We will continue our interaction with Rohan and Ravi after this very short break. You are watching Trans India, real people, real emotions.
क्या आप जानते हैं एक ट्रक ओनर के लिए सबसे मुश्किल काम क्या होता है? अपने ट्रक के लिए रिटर्न लोड खोजना।
पर अब ट्रैकेट ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट ने इसे आसान कर दिया है।
वो कैसे?
ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट टाइम पर ट्रैकेट ऐप में आए हुए लोड पर अपना बेस्ट रेट भेजें, माल की डिलीवरी की डेट और टाइम सिलेक्ट करें और सबमिट कर दें, और ऑर्डर कंफर्म होने पर व्हीकल असाइन करें। है ना आसान? तो देर किस बात की? प्ले स्टोर ऐप पर टाइप करें TRAKET ट्रैकेट और डाउनलोड करें ट्रैकेट ऐप।
स्कूल बच्चों का दूसरा घर होता है और इस घर का ख्याल रखना एक प्रिंसिपल के लिए आसान नहीं। पढ़ाई के साथ बच्चों का आराम, उनकी सेफ्टी, छोटी से छोटी चीज़ मेरी प्रायोरिटी है। वैसे ही स्कूल बस चुनना भी एक बहुत बड़ा डिसीजन था। पेरेंट्स का पीस ऑफ माइंड, मैनेजमेंट का भरोसा और बजट साथ लिए चलना पड़ता है। इसीलिए कभी कभी फर्म भी बनना पड़ता है। आखिर कोई अपने बच्चों की जिम्मेदारी मुझे दे रहा है तो कोई बजट की। लेकिन इतने सालों में एक चीज समझ आई है, अगर सही डिसीजन लें तो सबसे ज्यादा प्यार भी प्रिंसिपल को ही मिलता है।
चुनिए महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बसेस। यह है मजबूत ट्यूबुलर स्ट्रक्चर, एंटी लॉक ब्रेकिंग, एंटी रोल बार, पैराबोलिक सस्पेंशन, IMAX, वाइडर सीट्स और बेस्ट इन क्लास माइलेज के साथ बच्चों के लिए सेफ और बाकी सबके लिए सबसे स्मार्ट चॉइस, महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बस।
Welcome back to Trans India, real people, real emotions. We are in conversation with the founders of Tresa Motors, Rohan Shravan and Ravi Machani at the company's headquarters in Bangalore.
Plus, Ravi, as you know, the government has now been trying to push for the reduction in the logistics cost. Down the line, this adds to that.
Absolutely does. Most people don't realize that our family's been manufacturing components, auto components for now 63 years. And we pay a big price for energy multiple times. Most people don't realize that. We look at cost of energy as some bill that comes to you and one head of cost. That's not true. Now, if you want to do precision manufacturing in this country, you have to use CNC machines. CNC machines have computers on them. Now, if there are computers attached to a machine, that thing cannot turn off, because if that thing turns off, the computer has to reboot.
Right.
What happens to your quality? Now, you're forced to fix a UPS or run a big ass generator
Yes.
to run the factory, and then you need to have a backup thing so that the damn thing doesn't trip. Look at the mess, right? All that simply because you don't have high quality power into your ecosystem,
Absolutely.
right? You got to think. So you got to think at ecosystem level too, right? There's a massive price we pay.
But
But
Ravi,
the quality of the power too.
right. But Ravi, adding to this, while some states in India are energy surplus, there are still some states where energy is still a concern. So, do you think how do you plan to push your vehicles in these markets where they say, okay, we don't have electricity half of the day, how do we charge our trucks?
So, fortunately, most of the new energy that is getting added is all renewable. I've not heard any new coal power plant or other power plants coming in. The problem is not on the energy availability, it's on the distribution side and the quality of energy.
Right.
And as I shared earlier also, Indian farms are just 2.5 acre on average. So there is going to be a lot of startups which are going to come in to actually exploit this particular feature. and make sure that you have small microgrids available for charging infrastructure. Now, trucks don't have showrooms, they have service centers which double up as showrooms. Most of the showrooms, these service centers will also be able to convert itself into a charging network.
Okay.
And on top of that, after COVID, the sector is organized 50%, which means that point A to B is very well defined. That's where the energy can actually be generated, because as a logistics company, you are concerned that you have to make sure energy is there.
Right.
The conversion of the next half is the big problem, where I want to buy a truck and I want to take it wherever I want. That becomes a problem. That's the challenging part, which I think can be solved after 2028, when the ecosystem actually builds up.
Okay.
It's so someone was asking me yesterday also on the FAME 3 and the new subsidy coming in. My point of view is very different. It's similar to the statement we use for Rome: build the road, they will come. Build the charging network, people will buy EVs.
Yes.
People will make EVs and buy EVs.
Right.
That's the biggest subsidy which government can do.
And Ron, how's your distribution and dealership network going to be? Like, is it going to be Tresa Motors actually selling and distributing, or you will be appointing dealers for this?
So unless the ecosystem makes money, you don't make money. You have to have your distributors and partners who understand and who disseminate the information, because a lot of people need to be trained. It's not a product which is on the website and you can just go and online buy. You want to feel it, you want to understand, you want to ask someone, like your friend in a garage, that kitna deti hai, and all the other questions. So that has to be there. That's why the dealership network needs to be there.
Okay.
And also, I'll just add to that, I think there are certain things, certain issues that you take. You have to choose what caliber of partnerships you want to have. One is, of course, the choice of having employees who do this for us. Second is to choose entrepreneurs.
Right.
Right? So when you have dealerships, you have entrepreneurs. And I always believe entrepreneurships are completely undervalued to what they do to the ecosystem. Because these are people who are willing to not work his hours, let's say my hours. Let's die on the reality check a bit here. Right? Mortals like me are willing to work far harder and stretch the routine and drive people and drive the the adoption, if you will. Okay? So I think it makes sense for us to work with entrepreneurs who are driving these dealerships. It makes sense.
So have you started putting dealerships in place since? Okay, before we come to that, when do you launch your trucks commercially?
Okay, now there's a dream of 2030, 2032. And there we see Tresa as the biggest automotive commercial vehicle company in the globe, disrupting many different fields. Now, if you launch in 25, 26, 27, 28, doesn't matter, as long as we meet the 2032 dream.
Okay.
So our trucks should be ready on 1st January 2025 if we are successfully able to close 1 million kilometers of no problems and a TCO being hit at what we're claiming.
Okay.
If that takes 2 years, it takes 2 years.
Okay.
So trucks can be ready, but we'll not start manufacturing them till our partners and all of us are bang on the TCO that we're expecting.
Okay.
And the truck has to be tested really, really well in the country, right? We have Delhi going from 4 to 48 degrees Celsius. You have cities which never go below. In fact, if you go to Rajasthan, same thing happens in most of the states, right? Then you go to Cherrapunji, it always rains. Now, if you go to Bangalore, you have moon here. So that same truck has to move around in all of these situations. Right. So you have to make sure the truck does really, really good.
So you want to make sure it's picture perfect to get before it gets on the road.
There is no hurry. Like, what will we achieve by launching it on 1st January 2025?
Right.
Maybe a lot of media will cover, but immediately something one issue
truck
happens.
stalls and yes. One final question, Rohan Ravi, both of you can take it and both of you will not, but I'm still putting it forth. What is going to be the price of the truck? In an absolute figure.
Absolute figure? Okay, so he's not going to answer. So
He's instructed. I follow instructions.
So a 18-ton truck in 2025 diesel is going to cost somewhere around 35 lakh. And I'm not going to now count in the subsidies from the government, no GST reduction, no tax reduction, not taking into factor the EVs don't pay toll and all. So I'm keeping apples to apple. If you keep apples to apple, a 200 kilometer truck is going to cost the same as a diesel truck.
Okay.
A 400 kilometer truck will be double. A 600 kilometer truck will be 3 times.
Okay.
But people don't buy trucks, as I shared. People buy it on the 20% deposit. So 20% deposit is going to be higher, but they're going to break even the first 6 to 18 months depending on how much they're driving and where they're taking electricity from. So that's the beautiful part of trucks. No one buys truck. They're all taken on loan. So initial deposit is higher. But the moment you start looking at the operational cost, you're going to see that it's actually not costing.
Also, I won't answer the question. Don't worry. We keep promise here. But I'll share a few things that really matter. I think let's look at the value proposition. If you have a far better solution, our drivers are going to have a far better experience driving in a nice cabin. It's air conditioned because coming from solar power, so the cost of a phone charging, so the operators will let it go.
Yeah.
All you have to do is tap into the sun, which we have plenty of. So we don't have to cringe on, okay, this guy's, I'm paying for the diesel. Here is just charging the.
Yeah.
So that's the condition. So we are removing some obstacles. So if you're charging from the solar grid, the owners are going to be okay. So the drivers are okay now. Then suddenly, the moment the cost of transportation comes low and it's insignificant, then we are suddenly starting to balance the load of also energy generation versus consumption too. What stops the trucks from going to the nearest state, charging from a massive solar farm and driving out back? Yeah. I get 80%, 90%, I get 100% charge and leave, and I only do top-up charge in my location. All this India is master of. You don't teach value seeking to my country, right? You know, we have always had people who've been very intelligent, have been genuine about looking for solutions, and they found these solutions. That's what's happened already to the mobility industry here in this construction, right? In this industry, right? Vinod once shared with us that India is perhaps the lowest cost transport.
Yes.
Not lowest price, big difference.
Lowest cost, yes.
Right? I always tell people, is it a low cost airline or a low price airline? The question is, whose money is it anyway? Right? That's the question. The money can be coming from a VC or it can be coming from a stock market, from people's expectation of the future. How does it matter? It's coming from somewhere. Ultimately, we believe the unit economics of the business has to work. Right? Fundamentally, moving goods from A to B has to make money, solve a problem,
Absolutely.
and save costs. Tresa has this promise. It's better for the drivers, it's better for the logistics owners, it's better for the planet, it's better for everybody. And this is coming from our country. This is the first time indigenous innovation, invention, right, hard engineering is coming through.
And disruption.
And disruption. So I will say, if I'm not to, if I may stretch it a little bit, I have to give a lot of credit to Rohan. In this humble office, he's built teams that have the DNA of that Israeli innovation, German engineering, and Indian frugality. If there's a sweet spot between these circles, it's right in the center. He's amazing. I have not seen anybody innovate so much, engineer so much at this frugality. The sweet spot is just unbelievable.
He hit it bang on.
Spot on the dot.
Absolutely. That was wonderful.
Well, friends, that was our interaction with Ravi and Rohan at the headquarters of Tresa Motors. We look forward to seeing these trucks on road very soon. Trucks that really look funky and would transform the way electric trucks look. We will be back again next week with a very special interaction with a legend from the commercial vehicle business. So stay tuned, and until next week, stay safe and drive safe. Jai Hind.
क्या आप जानते हैं एक ट्रक ओनर के लिए सबसे मुश्किल काम क्या होता है? अपने ट्रक के लिए रिटर्न लोड खोजना।
पर अब ट्रैकेट ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट ने इसे आसान कर दिया है।
वो कैसे?
ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट टाइम पर ट्रैकेट ऐप में आए हुए लोड पर अपना बेस्ट रेट भेजें, माल की डिलीवरी की डेट और टाइम सिलेक्ट करें और सबमिट कर दें, और ऑर्डर कंफर्म होने पर व्हीकल असाइन करें। है ना आसान? तो देर किस बात की? प्ले स्टोर ऐप पर टाइप करें TRAKET ट्रैकेट और डाउनलोड करें ट्रैकेट ऐप।